some of the things that were going on today, but I did want to highlight a few things for you before we started into the session this morning. The first thing, I know we announced it yesterday at the opening session. I also know that things were a little bit crazy and heads were in a lot of different places. You got a lot of information. Inside your folder, there is a cream-colored parent summer orientation evaluation. Of course, my copy is up in the office, so I can't show it to you, but it's a two-sided copy with a lot of numbers to circle and some space for comments. We would really ask you that you take some time to fill that out throughout this morning for us. And as nice as it is that you circle the numbers, it's really, really helpful to have comments to go along with those. We do take those very seriously. There are a number of program changes that we've made to the event this year based on feedback from last year. So we do like to change it up every year to make sure that our students and families are getting the best experience they can. We will collect those at the end of this morning's session, so really around 12:15 after Father Lenine speaks again, or you can turn it in at our first year fair up in McGuire Hall. So this morning what's going to happen, we've got a brief session this morning on billing, dining, and financial aid. They will do a Q&A afterwards, and then members of their staffs will also be out in the atrium kind of during the break time to answer any additional questions. We will have a nice little coffee break for you because we know it's a long morning to be in this space, but I think it's a really great morning for parents. Afterwards, we're going to have some information on our health center and health services here, talking about the immunization forms that are due, the services that our health center provides, and things like that. Immediately following that, we have a program called Realities of College Life. It's a live performance by our Evergreen staff members, skits and whatnot on things that have actually happened to first-year students and kind of how they've gotten themselves out of the situation. That will be followed by the data. So the data the surveys that you filled out yesterday will be shared with you today. They're being shared with your students, some of them right now as we speak. We'll have a little discussion about that, followed by a panel discussion with some of our administrators. You'll have a chance to ask questions of these administrators as well as some evergreens. So if you want to get a student perspective on what's going on, that group will be very truthful with you. I promise we have not prompted them with anything they have to say. And then Father Lenine wraps that session up. Then after that, we're up in McGuire for our first year fair. If you have any lingering questions, all of the offices are listed on the trifold white first year fair brochure. The one office that is not listed in there, because it was kind of a late edition, was Messina. So if you do have still Messina questions, you can have them answered there. One last thing before we get moving on, I wanted to let you know that I know oftentimes parents are a little nervous about their students being in an advising session on their own. I promise you it's okay. We have been doing this for 20-odd years. Your student is meeting one-on-one with a faculty advisor who works here, full-time professional here at Loyola. They have a 30-minute meeting where your student is, if they've got a major in mind, if they're not sure their path, whatever it is, they're going to help them figure out the classes that they need for next semester. One of the most important things I think for parents and students to understand, your student will walk out with 5 classes they need to graduate. It may not be their dream schedule. They may have to be up for an 8 o'clock class. They may have to take classes on Mondays and Fridays. The most important thing is they're going to get what they need to graduate, and that's what these advisors are there for. As you can imagine, they're low man on the totem pole. Our sophomores, juniors, and seniors have already chosen their classes. So it's down to the first year students to choose with what's left. They're going to mostly be taking core courses with the exception of a few majors. So I would say just to kind of, I say trust the process to the students a lot. Just trust the process that the student's going to get the best thing they need. And if there are questions about that, Dr. Loyola McGinnis will be here on the panel to be able to answer any questions about kind of specific academic services as well. They will also be doing their housing surveys and getting that information back in early August with who their roommates are. So that's kind of what we have going on for you today. Certainly there are student engagement staff members floating around, there will be evergreens floating around, and other professional staff members here at Loyola. So certainly stop us and ask if you have any questions. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Marianne Stano from Financial Aid.
Good morning, everyone. How are you? I was laughing because I thought, am I too loud? Am I all right? Okay. I thought, oh wow, 8:30 in the morning. What a great way to wake everybody up with financial aid. Ooh. It's like, but I think if we did it at the end of the day, I'd put you to sleep. So one way or the other, we have to go through this. And I was looking at this class of 2017. Can you believe it? That's like, where'd the time go? Anyway, all right, we have a lot to cover in financial aid, and we have other speakers, so I'll try to get through this as quickly as I can for you. First of all, just where are we located? Right across the walkway on the second floor, and all of our information is here for you. You will be able to print a copy of this presentation after when you get home. Is that correct, guys?
It's on there now.
It's on right now? It's online? Mm-hmm. So if you want to do so, you can, and that way you don't have to, or it'll minimize the notes that you have to take. But again, all our contact information. I'm Marianne Stano. I'm the Associate Director of Financial Aid. I have my right arm here with me, Donna Hemling. She will be available to answer questions along with myself afterwards. So if you have any questions, we can meet out in the hall. No problem. All right, like I said, we have a lot to talk about. A full agenda. We're going to talk about the financial aid cycle, the verification process, loan processing procedures, work study, what else? Financial access for parents, cash course, and then what you're going to do next year to apply for financial aid. I realize not everybody in the room, I realize that this information doesn't pertain to everybody in the room, but it probably does pertain to a lot of you. All right, so for those of you who are not pursuing financial aid, please just bear with us. And for those of you who are, I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page and you know why you've done what you've done so far in our office and what you still have to do this summer. So the cycle, in brief, is that we require 2 applications to apply for financial aid, both the profile and the FAFSA. And you'll note that it indicates it's the 2013-14 application for each of those forms. That's because financial aid is a year-specific process. You have to go through it every year. So you have to access the right applications when you go online. Your income information for the 2012 calendar year is considered on these applications. So it's based on the last calendar year. And you must submit income information to the College Board's IDOC service. We do something called 100% verification, which means we review every application and all the information on it, and we collect paperwork to support what's reported on those applications. And we'll talk about verification a little bit in more detail after. Data retrieval and tax transcript. When you were completing the FAFSA, some of you may have noticed that you had an option to import your income information directly from the IRS onto the FAFSA. That's especially important if you are selected for federal verification, which we will talk about, but that's what the data retrieval process is about. So once we have your applications and once we have your income information, we review everything. Now for the incoming freshmen only, we will go ahead and send you an award notification with an incomplete file. It's an estimate. We cannot give you a complete package or an official final package until we receive all the income information from you. So if you still have to complete federal verification for us, and we would have been sending emails about federal verification, or if you have to complete the IDOC process for us, and we have been sending emails about completing the IDOC process, you need to make sure you get that income information in to us so that we can complete the award. Okay? Once we do that review, we send an award notification. All of our application procedures are online on our website. I've just given you a very general, generic description, but for full details, you can get that right off of our website. And you have our website from the very first slide, so you just follow the links to application procedures, and everything is explained in detail there. Verification. Like I said, we do 100% verification for our applicants. Now, if we can see, as we're reviewing files, that a family is not going to be eligible for any need-based aid, as soon as we can determine that, we're going to put a halt on requesting additional information from you. And we will just go ahead and award non-need-based aid. We're not going to follow up with you anymore if you haven't turned in certain income documents or even the profile application. All right? But that's only if you're eligible for non-need-based aid, like an unsubsidized Stafford loan and a PLUS loan. All right? However, for the rest of you who are applying for or who are eligible or appear to be eligible for need-based aid, we do 100% verification. So that means you're turning in 2012 parent tax returns, 2012 student tax returns into the College Board's IDOC service. All IDOC does is scan the information for us and put it into a format so that we can import it into our system. All right? You will have gotten emails from us if you have not completed IDOC, but you will also have been sent emails from the College Board as a result of filing your profile to turn your information into IDOC. Do not send that information to us. All right? What did I miss here? All right, that's pretty much it for institutional verification process. The federal verification process is one where if the FAFSA, the Free Application for Federal Student Aid, has been selected for verification by the federal government, there's yet another verification process that you have to go through. Now, some of you have college students that have already been through this process over the years. The process has changed in the last couple of years in that the federal government is very specific about what we can collect to satisfy their verification process. No longer is your tax return coming into us good enough for that. Instead, they want you to either use the IRS data retrieval process, which would have presented itself when you were filling out the FAFSA if it was available at the time from the IRS. A lot of you probably filed early on because you had such an early application deadline with us. It might not have even been an option, okay? But it's an option now. So if you were selected for federal verification and we're sending you emails that tell you you have to either complete the IRS data retrieval process or submit a tax transcript, that basically means you were selected for federal verification. You can go back online to the FAFSA, complete the IRS process, and your information goes right from the IRS to the federal government, and then a new federal, it's called a student aid report. A student aid report is sent to us so that we can see that you've done data retrieval. Data retrieval is going to be available to most filers, federal filers, but not all. There are certain circumstances or situations when it's not going to be an option. So if you choose not to do data retrieval, or you cannot do data retrieval, you have to submit a 2012 tax transcript to us, which you have to require or request directly from the federal government. All right? And then you have to submit that to us. And if your student filed a tax return, a federal tax return, your student also has to submit or go through the data retrieval process or the tax transcript. Data retrieval process is a lot faster. So if you can do it that way, you're best off to do it that way. All right? So unfortunately, it gets very, it can be confusing, particularly if you were applying for aid at other institutions as well, and they may or may not have been profile schools. With us, you have two applications that you're dealing with and potentially two different verification processes that you're dealing with. And we treat them each separately because they are so different in terms of the documentation that can be used in each process. All right? So if you haven't turned those income forms into us for federal verification, or if you haven't turned them into IDOC yet, please do so right away so that we can finalize your student's award. Need-based financial aid consists of grants, loans, work study, It will all remain in a pending status until you turn that income information to us. Next year, when your student is a sophomore, we're not going to award until the file is complete. Your student will have a later filing deadline for the profile and the FAFSA, but we're not going to award anything until all the income information is in. Incoming freshmen, you get the benefit of an estimated award. Our estimate is as good as the information on your applications. But you still have to complete that financial process. For those of you who have applied and we've awarded, you probably saw loans on that award notification. And the loans can come from a variety of sources. The federal government, your student was offered either a subsidized and or unsubsidized Stafford loan, a Loyola University loan, a parent loan or PLUS loan, and an alternative loan. And I'm going to talk briefly about each of those. Just because the loan is on your student's award letter, a subsidized Stafford or an unsubsidized Stafford loan, that loan is not good to go until you complete yet another process, or until your student completes yet another process. A subsidized Stafford loan is a loan from the federal government. We award on behalf of the federal government. The most that a freshman can receive in the subsidized loan program is $3,500 as a freshman. Sophomore year goes up to $4,500, and junior and senior year it's $5,500. The subsidized loan is a need-based loan. So what that means is there's no interest accruing on that loan while your student is in school. The federal government is essentially paying the interest on that loan. So there's no interest accruing, but your student will go into repayment after he or she graduates from college. Okay? Well, he'll go into repayment, she'll go into repayment 6 months after she graduates, but the interest begins as soon as she's done with school. The interest rate on this loan is 6.8%. Up until July 1, 2013, it's 3.4. It's doubling on July 1st. Right, your congressman, right, your congressman. Do we have anybody working here from the Department of Education? Right, your congressman. 6.8% on a subsidized Stafford loan, so it's doubling. So that's new for our incoming freshmen. The eligibility requirement is also new in that it reads here, eligibility is based on 150% of the published length of current education program. So what does that mean? That means if your student is in a 4-year undergraduate program and is attending full-time every year, fall, spring semester, 4-year program, but maybe it's going to take them a 5th year to finish, they have 6 years total in this example to receive any kind of benefit from the Stafford loan program, from the subsidized loan program. Okay? So, something to keep in mind. The unsubsidized loan, there is no interest benefit. It's a 6.8% interest benefit. That's nothing new. That's been around for a while. And you can, the student is not required to make payments on principal while in school, but if you don't make payments on the interest while in school, that unpaid interest is going to be capitalized and added to the principal when your student goes into repayment after school. Again, we will award these loans on behalf of the federal government. If your student is eligible for any portion of the subsidized loan, we're going to offer your student that subsidized loan. By law, we have to, and we want to, because that's the better, we'll say, of the two loans because of the interest benefit. Or not the interest benefit, but, well, because it's not accruing any kind of interest. But if your student is not eligible for any subsidized loan, we will offer the full amount in an unsubsidized for up to $5,500, a combination of the two. So a student can get a maximum of $3,500 in subsidized, an additional $2,000 in unsubsidized, or any combination. I think the more I say, the more I might confuse you on that, so we'll just leave it at that. Okay, so how do you get this loan? I said that your student, just because it's on the award notification, doesn't mean it's a done deal. Your student has to go through a process online to finalize the loan. The website is provided. Your student is going to need his or her PIN. They needed a PIN to sign the FAFSA, so it's that same PIN that they use to sign the FAFSA. They'll need it when they go to this federal website. Your student's going to complete loan entrance counseling. It's a requirement by law so that they become familiar with the rights and responsibilities of a borrower, and they're going to have to complete a master promissory note as well. You can get to that federal website from our website, from the financial aid website here at Loyola, and this is what it looks like once you get to the student loan, the federal website. Your student is going to sign in with their PIN. Loyola University loan. Some of your students were offered a Loyola loan, and this year for our incoming freshmen, the maximum loan amount was $1,000, so $500 per semester. There's no origination fee on this loan. I failed to mention that on the Stafford loan. There is an origination fee on the Stafford loan of 1.051%. It's an odd figure, but it's just over 1% for the Stafford loans. On the Loyola loans, there is no origination fee, so you get the full $1,000, $500 per semester, and the interest rate is 5%. It's a fixed interest rate. Your student isn't going to go into repayment until after graduation, and like the Stafford loan, your student has to go through an additional process to complete the loan application process. All right, so it's not done just because the loan is listed on the award letter. The student is going to be working with ACS, who handles our loans, who handles our Loyola loan process. Your student, once again, is going to need his or her federal PIN to sign into that website. Your student is going to complete a master promissory note and what we call TILA, or truth in lending documents, for that loan. You can access the ACS website through our website, and we are still setting up the Loyola loan process with ACS. It should be ready by the end of the week. What I mean by that is if you were to go online tonight and try to complete the Loyola loan process, you wouldn't be able to. It's not completely set up yet because we're working it out with ACS. It should be ready by the end of the week. Whereas on the Stafford loan, it's good to go. You can go on anytime. The parent loan. The bottom of the award notification, we also indicate that if the parent wants to borrow, there's a loan amount, the maximum that you can borrow, in addition to whatever aid that your student was offered. The parent loan is in the parent's name, and it is the parent will go through a credit check. Unlike the student, your student's going to get a Stafford loan no matter what. Parent, however, you will go through a credit check. You have to be credit worthy to receive this loan. It's a 7.9% interest rate, and the origination fee on this one starting July 1st is 4.024. 4.2. It's a new rate that's again going into effect July 1, so it's hefty. Right, your congressman. Repayment on this loan begins within 60 days after the loan is fully dispersed. What that means is when we award financial aid, we award it for the full year. But just as you're billed for one semester at a time, half of your aid is credited to your student's account toward the bill one semester at a time. So half your financial aid goes on for fall, the other half goes on for spring. Once that PLUS loan is fully dispersed, within 60 days you go into repayment. Now, you can postpone payment on principal if you'd like. In a way, treat it more like an unsubsidized Stafford loan, like a student's loan. Anything unpaid is going to accrue later on. So it will cost you more to do it that way if you want to defer payment, but it is an option if you'd like. And that's something that you can pursue through studentloans.gov. By law, a student must file the 2013-14 FAFSA in order for you to apply for a PLUS loan. That's a federal requirement. And the reason being, the federal government wants to make sure that if your student is eligible for any other kind of need-based aid, whether it's from the federal government or the school, that the student has an option to receive those funds. And then you can borrow the PLUS loan in addition. Parent, just like your student, you have to go to studentloans.gov to complete the process. And you will also need your PIN. When you go onto that site, you would have used your PIN to sign the FAFSA when you completed the FAFSA application. Once again, you can access this federal site through our site. There's a lot more information about all the programs I just mentioned on our site, much more detail. So we have the path that you can follow here to get to the federal site to complete the PLUS loan process. And once there, it's the same site that your student's going to, but you'll follow all the prompts for the PLUS loan. So you need to sign in with your PIN. Now, one of the slides that I forgot, so I'm going to go here, back of screen, is the alternative loan, the private education loan. The private education loan, we don't award students. This is an option, however, that if your student wants to pursue it, he or she can. Some families opt to go with an alternative loan instead of a PLUS loan to cover any outstanding balance. These are private educational loans from various banks. I'm not within my rights to really recommend a lender to you per the federal government. On our website, we do have a list of lenders that we have worked with in the past, but if you want to pursue a private educational loan, this is something that you would have to research. We do have information available on our website, but ultimately the choice is yours. If you want to go with an alternative loan, it would be in your student's name, not in the parent's name. Your student's going to need a cosigner. The terms on these loans can vary, so they might be more advantageous than even a PLUS loan these days, but that's something that you would have to look into. Okay? But that is another source of funding if you need it. Work study. Some of your students were offered federal work study, and work study is an employment program that offers your student the opportunity to work on campus and earn a paycheck. The other types of aid, grants and loans, all that money is going to go right onto account to help satisfy your bill. Work study is different, okay? With work study, your student can earn up to $2,800 for the year, but your student's going to have to find a job on campus. We also have some off-campus jobs, and we can help place them in those. But your student has to work in order to receive the funds. Typically, students are working between 10 to 15 hours a week, and the wage is $7.25 to $8.50 an hour. In August, we're going to send your students an email, anybody who's eligible for work study, with all kinds of information about job postings, paperwork that's going to be required for payroll, and our financial aid, or rather our work study manual. The site is currently available, but it's set up for the 2012-13 school year. So you're more than welcome to go on and take a look just to get a feel, but we will send updated information for 13-14 in August to your student. Cash course. Cash course is available to all students. It doesn't matter if your student is getting financial aid or not. Cash course, if you go to any page on the financial aid website, you're going to see this blue box down here. It is a great site if you haven't already started any kind of financial literacy with your student, to encourage them to go on and just start learning slowly but surely how to handle their money. So I encourage you, it really is a tremendous site. We're always amazed every time we go on it in my office of, my God, this is really good. So I encourage you just to at least take a look at it and encourage your student to go on. Oops, I guess I should go back there. That's what it looks like. Financial access for parents. This is new starting last spring. This allows you, parent, to be able to view your student's student account information, their bill, their account, and possibly their financial aid information. But you have to have permission from your student. It's kind of interesting because you're pouring it out to us on these applications, everything about yourself. And then once your students are here, FERPA kicks in, which is Federal Educational Rights and Privacy Act, that says, I can't talk to you. I can't give you anything once your student is here because everything is your student's record, not yours, all right? So, I can't force your student. You can. I can't force your student to give you access. But I would say, honey, you better give me access because I want to see this. And we have a path here that would allow them, once they're here, to go through what we call Web Advisor, an online system that gives your student access to all kinds of information. And then your student can select either your permission to view financial information, student account information, and or financial aid information. So anything related to those two areas. And lastly, do I have a question?
I just had a question about that, talk about because this is my first child going to college. That's solely based upon financial, but what if the parent is getting the bill?
Yeah, I know. What's that?
The trick oh sorry, thank you. So little trick we do, right? So you remember Sarah earlier was talking about the students are going to go through advising today. And one of the things we ask them on their first advising form is who do you want the bill to be sent to? And they don't even realize that they're giving us authorization to mail the bill to you. So it's amazing. We get like 99% return rate. I've even seen it before where they'll put on it, please send it to mom and dad. At this address. They don't even give us names, mom and dad.
We can't talk to you.
So that's how we get around that one. Again, the FERPA and the online is different than us mailing you something, so we actually get the permission to mail you the bill.
Funny how that works, huh?
Yeah.
But still interestingly enough, if you're paying for your child's education, and if you're not using loans or grants in some instances,
And unfortunately, again,
FERPA.
yeah, Marianne already asked the question, so I can't get in trouble. They don't care down in DC who's paying the bill. Because again, FERPA, you have to remember, FERPA actually protects more than just financial aid or the student account. It protects their academic record. It protects everything.